everybody, I'm Melinda Gallant, and I want to welcome you to another Cape Conversations. Oh, we're going to have a really nice discussion today with a wonderful personality from Cape Cod who's gone on to do other things and is now on Sirius Radio. So come along, let's have another Cape Conversation. Hi everybody, I am sitting not only with a good friend and a wonderful human being, I am sitting with the famous, maybe infamous, Dick Golden. Dick, welcome to Cape Conversations.
The way you started that, I was turning around like this because I was going to say I didn't see Mother Teresa enter the room.
Yes.
It was just...
That's it. So tell me, Dick, you've had such an extensive career in radio, and now you're back on Cape Cod. You left Cape Cod.
Yes.
You were at WQRC.
33 years, I believe.
Wow. And you ran a great program there. It was wonderful. And after you, there was Broadway music.
Right. You would remember it. That's
I do
indelible.
remember it, yeah. But you were so terrific, and then you got a different opportunity, and so you took it.
Yes, went to Washington, but continued the radio work on... I'm now on Sirius XM's Real Jazz channel, so
Wow, great.
continue to do that. But
And what channel is that?
67.
67.
So
Put that in your book. Number 67 in your hymnal.
But it's the timeless music. I mean, it's everything from Gershwin to Louis Armstrong to Duke Ellington to Cole Porter, Ella Fitzgerald, Diana Krall, a whole new generation of people who are coming along performing this music.
You were at the Sandwich Arts Alliance, the recent Sandwich Arts Alliance concert with Michael Persico.
Yes.
And his group that does the whole
Tribute to Louis, yes.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Oh, that was amazing, because the catalyst for that, of course, was Jack Bradley's collection of Louis Armstrong's photographs. Jack was befriended by Louis back in the early 1960s, I think, and Louis kind of looked at Jack as his unofficial photographer. So he had this enormous collection of about 10,000 pictures of Louis.
How many?
10,000.
Wow.
You know. And not only Louis, but that gave him access at the Newport Jazz Festival, Santa Fe Jazz Festival, to people like Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Tony Bennett and all of these, because we had great photographs of these people. But that was a beautiful evening, and the people who turned out, I think, enjoyed the program. You put it together.
Well, the
great
Arts
hostess.
Alliance,
Yes.
Arts Alliance puts it together, but I'll tell you, I was amazed at the number of people there, and there were kids there.
Yes.
I mean, that to me is amazing.
That's because it's our American cultural gem, I think. That whole generation of people came along. President Kennedy once said, it's etched on the wall of the Kennedy Center, that it's isn't as eloquent as his wording, but when the sands of time pass over us, meaning us as a society,
Right.
the American society, we too will be judged not by the power of our armies or the might of our treasury. We too will be judged by what we contributed to the human spirit.
Right.
And I would submit Exhibit A, Louis Armstrong,
Right.
and George Gershwin, and that whole cultural contribution that we made.
Sure. Well, now, you're on Sirius Radio now, Channel 67. But however, you also did other things down in Washington too, right?
Oh, yes, I was in the External Relations Division at George Washington University, so in the events section of that, and what we were charged with was creating and producing all of the university events.
Oh, wow.
From freshman convocation in September to the commencement every May, and GW's commencement was on the National Mall at the base of the Washington Monument, which is stunning.
Yeah,
you
I
look
can't
at,
even imagine
you're
that.
on the mall and you're looking to the right and the left are all the Smithsonian museums,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're looking up at the Lincoln Memorial, and
Yeah.
there's the Washington Monument. So it was epic. And to get through that in an hour and a half with 30,000 people and several thousand graduates and their families, but it was terrific. But also anytime if President Obama came to the university for a speech, that sort of thing, we would have to organize the programs. And
Wow.
so it was illuminating. I lectured at the Smithsonian on jazz. I lectured in the music department at GW, and that was great
Yeah.
because that put me in direct contact with students. And
Sure.
you can understand why people commit their lives to teaching. You know, someone once, Henry Adams once said, teachers affect eternity. And you could, just being around a generation of young people, you always felt a great spirit of optimism.
Sure.
Because GW students were incredibly involved in politics and public service, public affairs. And so you always felt they're going to fix the problems. We're going to fix that, the
Yeah.
environment and all of these
Yeah,
things. And
right. Well,
it's infectious, that spirit,
Yeah.
as opposed to going around, oh, no, not that again.
well, you know, it's funny. I think probably what put you into the events was on your resume was that you were a co-founder of First Night Cape Cod.
Oh, yes, where we really, I mean, I knew you before then
Right.
professionally.
Yeah.
When
well,
you,
you did things at the mall
at
with
the
me
mall,
way
when
back
you-
when.
And you just had, everyone admired it so much, I know, at the radio station, because they said, well, Melinda will fix it. That was always
Yeah, well.
I thought, let's make up a T-shirt. But no, you have a great sense of what community is supposed to be, this program you
Well, you
produce.
did such a wonderful job as a mutual admiration society, but seriously, I mean, you helped us bring in the acts and the musicians and
We had some
all of
great,
that.
how about Walter Cronkite, the year
I know.
Walter Cronkite, and because of that, I got to interview him on his boat in Falmouth Harbor, and then that was 3 weeks before the event at
Yeah.
on the mall.
Yeah.
But all these people, Mike Wallace and Beverly Sills and Julia
Well,
Child.
that's the Pops.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. That was the Pops.
Oh, but
not
it was
the-
all part of that
all came under
Arts
the
Foundation,
right.
yes, and that event began before First Night. Then
Yes,
a
it
group of
did.
people put the Pops by the Sea
Yeah.
together. You might have been the catalyst for it. Let's do First Night. They do it in Boston every
Well,
year.
that's, seriously, I went to First Night in Boston, came back.
You were the one who
and
brought it
said
to the table.
the Arts
Yes, yes.
Foundation, they looked at me like, well, you know, we can't do that. Sure
I
we
looked
can.
at you like that first night when we had 8 inches of snow on the ground, and
That's
the
true.
Barnstable Public Affairs, town people, Public Works people, had to come out and plow the.
Yeah.
But it's again creating a sense of community and a spirit in a
Yeah.
community, and
Yeah.
it was
Well,
terrific.
it was great fun, but I'm sure that you put that on your resume, and that's why they wanted you to. be
Yes,
the
come
best
in,
one.
and it was terrific. You know, I realized at the university, one of the things in the commencement part of it, for instance, was that no one was coaching the students. We had a system of picking a student commencement speaker, but that was it. They would submit their texts, and
Yeah.
you'd audition them, and everyone said fine. But no one was going in and saying, well, let's help them do this,
Right,
and fine tune it, and that sort
Right.
of thing. And you know, I remember with students saying, you mean I only have 3 minutes to give my commencement speech in front of 30,000 people at the base of the Washington Monument with Michelle Obama and Dave Brubeck sitting in back of you?
Right.
It's a moment, you know, and
Yeah.
you have to, and there would be some students who were reticent to, you know, accept that, and I would say, you know, get the Gettysburg Address, get a stopwatch, and on this cadence, 7 years ago, time it. It's 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Now, if you have something that
Better than
exceeds
that.
Abraham Lincoln's content, but just in a joking manner. But it was, you know, you could sense, it was palpable, the growth of a student at 22 years old. And not only on the National Mall, but many instances where students had to engage in public speaking. You could sense, it was palpable that they had grown as a person.
Sure.
To do that, as I used to tell them, you know, I know you're nervous, but so people say, you know, it's most people fear public speaking more than they fear drowning, because at least in drowning, you get it over with quickly.
That's right.
3 minutes can seem like 3 hours
Right,
if, you know,
right,
you're
right.
uncomfortable. But it was a terrific experience.
that's
And I think that really was the foundation at the radio station of the Arts Foundation,
Yeah.
Pops by the Sea, and then the first nights we did in Chatham, Falmouth, and Sandwich. You started in Sandwich.
Provincetown, we didn't do Chatham, remember Chatham?
That's
did their
right, they
own
had their
thing.
own entity.
And they didn't want anything to do with Hyannis. Those are the old days. Now they're glad when Hyannis people bite buttons to go down.
Right.
So you've had a illustrious career. You've won awards. You've done things. Just tell me a little bit about all of that.
Well, it's just, I think the root of it all is communication. And, you know, radio's a great medium, I think, if you're reticent to get on a stage, or you, like I will tell people, I have a great face for radio. You know? No one ever sees you, you know. It's the theater of the imagination,
Yeah.
and you're communicating with people, an unseen audience. I mean, vicariously, you have to be the audience and the presenter, and you're thinking about what piece of music might be just the perfect one at this moment. It's a Friday night, it's 10 o'clock, it's July, and
Sure.
you're thinking of that audience driving to Cape Cod from Providence and New York and Boston, and they're looking for some diversion from that driving and stuff. So what song, what artist, what piece of music right now would spark their imagination and make it tenable to get from Route 3 to the bridge? And so it's a lot of it was, the bottom line is communication. That's what I had the impetus to do. I was always impressed with people who, in any endeavor, whether it was politics or the arts or stuff, who were articulate enough to make a statement and communicate a thought. So that's the foundation of it all.
And so how many years have you been in broadcasting?
About 45
Wow.
now.
Oh my gosh, and you're only 52.
It's
How did you do
amazing,
that?
amazing. Well, Guillermo Marconi and I, hanging out in Wellfleet, that's where the first radio wireless broadcast back in January of 1903
Yeah.
took place. But I was always amazed, because in the same year, and this is what Cape Cod, being in a place like Cape Cod, and why I had to come back to the Cape, the opportunities, it's such a magnet for people to come here. And Guillermo Marconi's daughter was at the centennial in, I guess it was 2003, of the first radio broadcast in Wellfleet. The National Park Service put together a great program. So you get to meet her, and then within the same year, Eugene Cernan was on the Cape to give a speech at an event that was taking place for John Polano at Barnstable Airport. Eugene Cernan was the last astronaut
Right.
to walk on the moon. So
Right.
you're meeting Marconi's daughter and the last man to walk on the moon, all on Cape Cod.
I know, isn't that crazy?
It is.
It is
It's marvelous.
crazy. And all the people that live here and choose to live here.
Yes.
Very quietly, under the radar. I mean, Tony Bennett used to come here all the time.
32 years, yes,
Yeah.
he came, and he loved the Cape. He told me one time that, he said, you know, one of the things I love about Cape Cod is that the people love their area, their home so much. They love Cape Cod. He said, there's such a pride when I talk to people on the Cape. And he was a painter, so he loved the opportunity. He
that's
said,
right, yeah.
when he wasn't on stage at the Melody Tent, he always brought a sketch pad with him. And I remember taking Tony and his wife Susan. They came down for 3 days of just R&R. He wasn't appearing here. And Susan loved the Cape, and so he wanted to surprise her on her birthday. And we put together this great weekend. But one of the highlights of the 3-day visit was the walk on the boardwalk in Sandwich.
Oh, is that right?
He said, we've got to stop. He said, I've got to, and he took out his sketch pad and started sketching.
Oh my God.
So they all, you know, and
He
I,
had an exhibit.
he did
at
at
the
the
Cape
Cape.
Museum of Art.
You're right, yeah, just a great program. He has 3 paintings at the Smithsonian. His Duke Ellington portrait, God is Love, is at the National Portrait Gallery. He has a beautiful mural of Central Park that's at the National Museum, and then his Ella Fitzgerald's at the Smithsonian's American History Museum.
Wow.
So, no, he loved it.
Quite
He thought the
something.
Cape not only it inspired him musically, but that he could, exercise his painting chops here.
Sure, sure. Well, you've known a lot of them.
Yeah.
You've been very fortunate to know
Incredibly
all. I
fortunate.
mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Give me some names. Drop some names.
Well,
for us.
that's kind of embarrassing. It's just if you were writing a book, it would be called Moments,
Yeah,
because
right.
it's a moment that you encounter someone.
Well, what's the guy's name who's very famous now? Piccarelli is his last name.
Pizzarelli.
Pizzarelli.
John Pizzarelli.
John. And he was at the jazz part of Pops by the Sea.
Correct, Jazz by the Sea.
Right. And, which was wonderful, and you were MC of that, as I believe.
Right.
And I'd never heard of him. He was kind of, he was getting up there. His
Right.
father was famous, right?
Bucky Pizzarelli,
Yes.
the guitarist.
Right. But now, of course, I follow him,
Right.
all these years later. I mean, it's really
It-
quite
it is.
outstanding what we've had here on the Cape.
And that's an interesting story because Ivy Sinclair, our beloved colleague
Yes.
in all of these programs, who was
Right.
involved with C3 TV and started a jazz program, she was on the planning committee for Jazz by the Sea, and she said, "Who do you think we should have as our main attraction?" I had started playing Pizzarelli on the air, and it got a great reaction from the audience. And I was reading and talking to other people in music, and they said, "Oh, this guy's up and coming. He's terrific." And so we had him here for the
Yeah.
first Jazz by the Sea. And I remember his manager calling Ivy and I on a conference call and said, "I'm sending the contract, and I want you to know this is the last time anyone is going to get John Pizzarelli at that price." And it's true, as you pointed
Yeah.
out, within a couple of years. And
Yeah.
subsequently, he's been back to the Cape to perform with the
Yeah.
symphony orchestra, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
terrific.
yeah. I know, it is. It's really kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, you have them. I mean, you've kind of known them all. You've also known a lot of politicians as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, George Herbert Walker Bush and Bill Clinton meeting President Clinton and these people. And again, it's moments. And in those moments, one of the great things I've learned from Tony Bennett is he used to always say, "Dick, just be yourself and you will be different than 10 billion other people." And he was sort of talking
Yeah.
about himself. It's just
Right,
be
sure, just
yourself.
be
And
you, right.
when if Tony Bennett was around a president or a king, that could happen in
Yeah.
his life.
Yeah.
There was no difference in terms of approach or humanity than someone who might come in to service the green room at one of his gigs.
Right.
Someone bringing in soft drinks and
Right.
always polite, and so it's
Sure.
it's true. So it's I'm just very blessed, I feel.
Yeah.
To have had these moments.
So you're on Sirius Radio,
Correct.
Channel 67.
Real jazz.
Real jazz. So where do you think this will take you now? I mean, here you are. You're. I mean, you're
52.
You're 52, and you're still in the throes of it all. I mean,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Well, it's incredible. You could be talking about the music because the music is constantly being rediscovered or
Sure.
discovered by audiences, and it's just there's this impetus to communicate to people what a great treasury we have of talent, even if they don't absorb it as part of. It may be a menu of music that they
Sure.
like. But it does ultimately it does add. It's a gift. Music is a gift, and it adds to people's lives, and so that's what drives me. It's just great to do it.
Well, 40-some years ago, you used the term. The first time I'd ever heard it, you used the term the American Songbook,
Right.
and I didn't. When you first used it, I was kind of thinking, well, isn't that everything? But it's not everything, is it?
Right, right. No, it's interesting because we have this. I'm sort of at the intersection of the American Songbook and jazz, and so much of the jazz repertory is the music of the Gershwins, Cole Porter, Richard
Right.
Rodgers, Harold Arlen, Johnny Mercer, that sort of thing. But you have much of the American Songbook was written Irving Berlin, the Gershwins, Jerome Kern, Harold Arlen, by Jewish people, immigrants, who were escaping tyranny in Russia and throughout Europe, and they came here to be free. And then so they're creating the songbook, And then you have African Americans creating this incredible art form, jazz, bringing over,
Right.
and they came here under duress. They didn't ask to
Right.
come here.
Right.
So you have these two groups of people coming to our country and each creating this, making their contributions to this music, such a positive statement of who we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's the subtext. You don't, you know, it's apparent to your ears once you hear the music. And so it's great to, it's an honor just to be able to do it, to be associated with it.
Well, yeah, yeah. So who are some of the artists you play?
Well, I mentioned that Ella Fitzgerald, the First Lady of Song, Ella Jane Fitzgerald, just an incredible talent, voice person. She was the world's First Lady of Song. She didn't call herself that. She was given that title. And Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Errol Garner, Dave. We have such a group of incredible musicians on the Cape.
Right.
Dave McKenna came from Cape Cod.
I
Lou
know.
Colombo, Dick Johnson, Marshall Wood. Ruby Braff, great Ruby cornetist who lived in Dennis for years.
Yeah.
Robert Leo Hackett, just this amazing guy.
Who's buried here?
Bobby Hackett
Bobby
is
Hackett's the one that's
buried in Chatham.
in
They
Chatham.
mentioned him at the Louis Armstrong show at the Arts Alliance. But he's in Sandwich, and he, again, getting a chance because of the radio program. I interviewed him several times, and he was just the wonderful, gentle, kind guy, but a brilliant musician, and very close to Louis. He introduced, Bobby lived in Corona in New York, and Louis lived in the same neighborhood, so they would always get together and have these listening sessions, and Bobby introduced Tony to Louis that way.
Oh, my
So
God.
can you imagine three of them sitting around
Oh,
listening
I
to?
can't.
And Louis listened to country, he listened to classical, he listened to all types of music.
Sure.
So, but there are a lot of stories, you know,
Yeah.
the
yeah,
American
yeah.
story.
But so I know you said Ella Fitzgerald. What are there any up and coming or new?
Oh, so there are so many. I think of one of my favorite newer singers is Diana Krall, of course, who's
yeah.
originally from Canada.
Right.
And she appeared.
That's Joe's girlfriend, by the way.
Oh, really?
So he's on her email list, you know, when she's doing, and so he'll say to me, you know, every few months, he'll say, "Oh, Diana is going to be here. I may have to fly and go see her."
Oh,
so, you know.
what a terrific she's married
Oh,
to.
she's-
Tell him she's married to Elvis Costello.
Yes,
So
he
Joe,
knows
you've
that.
got.
He does know that, yes.
But you know,
And he's married to me, for heaven's sakes.
She's from Canada, you know, originally, and she went to the Berkeley College in Boston.
Yeah.
And when she appeared at the Cape Cod Melody Tent on a Sunday evening, about halfway through her set, she said, "I just want you to know that although I wasn't old enough at the time, I used to sneak in at the bar at the Copley Plaza Hotel in Boston when I was going to Berkeley so I could listen to Dave McKenna
Is that right?
and learn from
Oh,
Dave
my
McKenna,
gosh.
our great, you know,
Yeah.
international icon.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
So there was that, it was a fertile ground for that music on the radio here on the Cape. We have that
Yeah.
big community, so.
So, do you ever think about doing? You're on Sirius Radio, but going back into regular.
Yeah, no, I would like that. If the opportunity came along, that would be great. I've also, since 1999, produced a weekly program for the NPR station along the Treasure Coast of Florida, WQCS, and that was taping programs for WQCS when you're in WQRC. That got a little
Yeah, that's
confusing
gonna
at
get-
times, but
yeah.
and that's, you know, it's 4 hours, and it's just again a chance to
Yeah.
spotlight this music. So no, anytime an avenue opens, I'm
Yeah, you're
ready
ready
for
to
it
do
go.
it, right?
Yes.
That's good. So, you're living here in Sandwich now. What do you
Yes.
think?
I love it.
You lived in Barnstable before.
I lived in Barnstable Village, so it's just a, you know, half-hour ride up 6A, and
Yeah.
it's changed. When I came to the Cape in 1970, there were close to 80,000 people year-round.
Right.
And when I left in 2005, there were 230,000.
Right.
I think there's an additional 230,000 since
I
I
don't
left.
think so, but you're right.
But
There's a lot of
it's
traffic.
changed,
Yeah.
and I think obviously the pandemic had something to do with it, because people
Yeah.
who could afford to move out of metropolitan areas thought, let's go
Right.
to our summer place and we'll live there year-round now, and
Right.
that had something to do with it. But, you know, I think the Cape is a victim of its reputation. Everyone,
Right.
you know, when Patty Page in April of 1957's record of Old Cape Cod started
Right.
playing, and people heard about winding roads that seemed to beckon you, miles of green beneath the sky of blue. I said, we have to go there sometime. And within 3 years of that
It
event,
was romantic.
it was, and 3 years of that, after that event, 1957, John Kennedy is elected president.
Right.
And was spending all the summers in Hyannisport.
Right.
So the Cape really got under an international spotlight at
Yeah.
that point. And with most people, and me included, you never felt, gee, what are they talking about? It's not
Yeah.
that great. It's a beautiful, beautiful area.
Oh, it is, it is. In fact, the house across the street from me sold, typical, you know, nowadays. It sold, and the couple is from Ohio, not from the area from where, you know, where we lived. But it turns out that the husband, and he works in construction of build-outs of big stores, you know, he built out all the limited stores and all that kind of thing. And his wife is a artist for novels, love novel. I would call them romance novels, I guess they're called. So, you know, the pictures of the guy, and she does all the graphic artworks for that stuff. But very lovely couple, but they're here because he lived here. He grew up here in Yarmouth, I guess. And then life took him elsewhere. And so, but I saw them the other day, and they said, well, we're only here for 2 weeks, and then we've got some other people coming in, so it's going to be their Airbnb. He goes, but someday this will be our forever home. And I'm going, I don't think so, but I mean, it's fine. And they're lovely people, and the people that come in certainly don't bother us. But
Yeah. No,
it's definitely changed.
It is, I mean, but it's still, underneath it all, it's just so serene and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
And so many, like in Sandwich, to go down to the Thornton Burgess nature trail.
Yeah.
And just have a cup of coffee there,
I
and
know.
reflect in the wading pool, and
I know, it's
and
just
find
gorgeous.
peace and quiet and tranquility.
Or go to, when it's not high tide at the boardwalk, the new boardwalk, to walk across it is just delightful.
It is.
It
It's
is
beautiful.
just so beautiful.
No, I've always found, I remember I would have to go in at QRC to do the morning program. I would leave the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is a sign of onerous, but I never failed to stop, especially in the wintertime, before I got into my car, to stop and look up to see the number of stars you can see at
yeah.
night on Cape
Yeah,
Cod. It's
yeah.
phenomenal at that
Yeah,
hour of the
yeah,
morning.
yeah.
And just the wonder of it all, as you
Yeah.
looked around and say, okay,
That's
now I've
true.
got to get going. But no,
Good
it's,
job.
there are so many opportunities to do things like that.
Well, this has been fun, talking to
Been-
my friend.
It's been terrific, Melinda. You're such an inspiration to so many people. You
Oh,
know,
I
you
don't think
really
so.
are. You have such
Don't listen to him. He
you have
doesn't
a
know what's
beautiful
talking about.
spirit, and I've seen you in leadership meetings, and you bring a spark that's very rare, I think. in
Well, we've
people.
got to get you into the Arts Alliance. That's my next goal, so
No,
get
it's-
you involved
this is-
somehow.
This has
So,
just been terrific.
Anyway, so thank you for joining me
Thank you
today
very much.
on another Cape Conversation.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you. Dick Golden is so terrific. Wow, the knowledge that he has about music and jazz and the American Songbook is just amazing. But not only that, he's a good human being and a nice guy. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again on another Cape Conversation.